Welcome to another episode of An Inside Job: War on Addiction. This is part two of with Kevin, and so I won't go through the whole thing. We'll get right to it. So we left off with Kevin quitting for 5 years, and we know the reason why. It's in the tape. It just caught up to him. What age again?
25.
25, yeah. So let's go into that. You stopped. We know why you stopped. How did that go for the 5 years?
You know, as far as, I don't really remember like any great change or transformation. I think, you know, they say when we start drinking, you know, kind of mentally we stop growing. So
Right.
I was still immature,
Right.
you know, 25-year-old.
Yeah. So was it easy to do the 5 years?
You know, I like to say, you know, a lot of my friends would quit for a while. We call it going on the wagon. You know, I
Yeah.
had a friend would quit for Lent. You know, you might quit here and there for a month or two, you know, normally. So when I quit, you know, my friends still wanted to drink, and
Yeah,
so they tried to
course.
pull me back in. And what I think now is, if you have a group, let's say of 4 friends, and you stop drinking,
Right.
they say, gee, I drank just like him or worse, then they're forced to look in the mirror and say, you know, I want him to drink to just make things stay the same, you know. So I did get a little bit of harassment, you know, come on, just, you know, you've been not drinking for a while, you can handle
Right.
it.
You're not an alcoholic.
Right. And they just thought I was being stubborn to prove a point. So probably for the first 3 years, you know, it took 3 years for them to stop trying to entice me. They were like, wow, he's really made the
Were
change.
you still hanging with them?
I would still go out, watch, you know, sporting events and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and
Yeah.
go to concerts. And
Didn't bother you?
No.
Really? Huh?
Yeah.
That young, and so now we go into you picking up again 5 years later at 30.
Well, I'll just step back a little bit. So at 28,
Yeah.
I got married. 29, I had my one and only daughter. And then it was a, you know, short period from 28, 29 to 30. At that time...
So she only, and your daughter, only knew you sober.
Correct. I mean, my wife knew me. We met in college, so she knew my
okay.
drinking.
All right.
So what happened actually in 98, so I was 28, I was interviewed for the fire department, and that didn't go my way. And it was politics, and they kind of told me, wait 2 years till we hire again.
Wow.
And so in 2000, I got appointed to the fire department. We had a 2-month drill school, and so for me, that was like hitting the lottery, my dream job.
Right.
You know, I had this career that, you know, I just like to help people, and it was adrenaline. And so after the 2 months, I said, gee, you know, it's been 5 years. You know, an alcoholic can't quit cold turkey, and, you know, so I probably don't have, you know, I've matured. So I think I can handle it, you know, and I remember my wife saying...
Let me interrupt. Did anybody mention AA at those 5 years?
Still no. I didn't know anyone sober, really. So I said to my wife, you know, I think I could drink again. And she just said, do you think it's a good idea? And I said, yeah, I think I can handle it. So I don't remember where my first drink was. It was probably maybe at graduation. You know, they had a after party. Maybe it was then. And nothing, the worst thing that can happen to an alcoholic is nothing happens. So the first time I drank, I didn't go into a blackout. I didn't drive. You know, it probably took 3 years till I was 33 to kind of hit a roadblock, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Huh. Okay, so you picked up the drink, and how long before that was causing a problem?
It took
You weren't a fireman yet.
No, I was a fireman from age 30 when I
Okay.
started drinking again. Nothing really happened for probably 3 years, you know.
Really? You were maintaining.
Yeah, you know, I'd have a couple funny things that would happen. Like I would come home, go downstairs, you know, and I didn't drink a lot alone, but I'd probably have a couple more beers, watch TV, and eat some food. So
Yeah.
I remember once I had some Chinese food and probably passed out. And the next morning, you know, my wife said, "Why are there chicken fingers in the dryer?" You know, because it's white. You open the door, you put it in. So that stuff was kind of funny. You know, she didn't get too upset.
Kind of funny.
Yeah, kind of funny. But it took, on my 33rd birthday, we had a firefighter convention, and I drank all day, all night. And when I woke up, I don't think anyone had seen me drink like that. And so I kind of was ashamed, and I picked up and ran out, you know, and when I got out to my car, this wall of guilt, shame, remorse came over me, and I was sad. I started sobbing, you know, and so basically had a emotional, mental breakdown. And I said, I'm dying, basically, and I reached out for help, and I went for help for the depression more, and I didn't tell the truth with my drinking, so still
Excuse
wasn't
me,
a problem.
Did you come up here for the, place for firemen? And
Not yet. It hadn't got
Okay.
bad enough. So I just got treatment, basically counseling for a while to deal with the depression, and I didn't think it really helped. It was just talking, and I got on some basic entry-level depression meds, and I don't really remember this, you know, great awakening. You know,
Yeah.
wasn't dancing through, you know, the fields. You know what I mean?
but you were still drinking.
I was still drinking.
Yeah. And how long did that?
That went on basically for another 7, 8 years.
How long before it caught up with your wife, with the problems?
I mean, I guess, you know, there was all these drinking and never coming home, like coming home late, not calling, sometimes coming home the next day, not calling, you know, and one of the first time I ever really felt guilty was I went out to a basketball game. Celtics were in the finals, and I didn't plan to be out much because the game was at like 3 o'clock. Basically, I ended up spending the night out with a cousin and a friend, crashed in Beacon Hill somewhere. And that was my daughter. I wasn't home in the morning, and my daughter was probably 7 or 8 at that time, and she said, "Where's Dad?" And for the first time, my wife said, you know, "I don't know." As far as she knew, I was dead in a ditch. And that's when I felt bad, because it must have been tough for my daughter to not know where her dad was.
Yeah. Huh. So that was the first time. And when did it, you don't have to answer this, all right? But when did it really catch up with, you're divorced, right?
Right.
When did it really catch up with the marriage?
Okay, so, you know, through that time when I started drinking at 30, I basically was pretty much flatlined as far as just numb to the world. And maybe some happy times, nothing crazy, but yeah, I remember my wife sitting down one day and she said, you know, "How do you think this is going?" I said, "Oh, pretty good." You know, she said, "Really?" You know, I said, I'm happy, I'm content. And, you know, I think that's the first time we brought up the D word, divorce.
Yeah.
We had always said we would never talk about it, but it didn't happen still for a few more years. But
Yeah.
the writing, I guess, was probably on the wall.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's a rough one. And you did leave
Right.
after that 2 years. You know, I've been through it. We've all been through it, I think. And that guilt and that shame and that just everything. And some of that still carries with me to this day. You know, I left them. It's been a lot of years since I've been sober, and you know, I think I've been good. I know I've been good. I back them up. But it's still there, and my son has this huge problem, and I've seen him on the gurney 3 times, you know, and it's been the 37 years to where we are today. And he's 52. He just turned 52, and it's strained, and I don't know, it just took its toll on him. And he's saying, how did I get here at 52 and I haven't done anything? I mean, he's very talented cooking, very talented, but he hasn't worked now for, I bet it's at least 10 years, and his back's all screwed up. And he's sober right now, but
God
his
bless.
daughter, you know, carried right over. His daughter OD'd about 4 years ago at 27. So it just keeps going. And my son's, Jason's son, you talk about the writing on the wall, the writing's on the wall. So, you know, I stopped, I was the first one, and it was like, I don't know, it was like, I explained it as like a coming to the screeching halt, but like a 747 coming in with no wheels. It just kept
Crash
going.
landing.
It just kept going
Right.
when I stopped drinking. But so that's when it became to me 34. So the D word came. You left the house.
Not quite yet, so I will fast forward a little bit. So from, 37 to 41, I was trying to control my drinking. I was trying everything in the book.
Yeah.
I used to play hockey in a men's league, and we'd play, till 11 o'clock at night, and we'd stay in the parking lot till 2:30.
Right.
And I would drive home, and, in my entire life, I probably haven't been responsible more than 4 times, like asking for a ride. I maybe have taken 1 cab. So my go-to was drinking and driving. I did for 20 years. So now I was trying to play hockey at 8 in the morning so I wouldn't drink. I was changing
Yeah.
everything, but I
Right.
wasn't going to quit. At the end, when the end was coming, what I started doing was playing video games. So I ultimately became a video game addict.
Yeah?
15 hours a day.
Wow.
It was ruling my life for the 8 months leading up to me getting sober. That was how I was trying to replace
Right.
the drinking.
Right.
But it had me isolating, it brought me depression. And so that's when I sought help. A friend of mine intervened and kind of did a mini intervention. And he told me about a program up in Westminster
Yep.
called the On-Site Academy.
Right.
I went up, I did a 5-day program. And basically that led into basically 3 months of treatment. I was still working at that time. I would go home, maybe
Yeah.
on the weekends do some shifts, but I was struggling, So I stayed sober the first, I stayed sober till this day, but after 3 months of sobriety is when we decided to get separated and divorced.
Oh. Rough
So
one.
basically what happened then was I was, divorced. We sold the home. For 6 months, I had to live with my parents. I tried to get a place for a year with someone, and that didn't work out. 6 months back with my parents. I was still working at this time, sober. And then I was injured on the job. I did 15 years. What I decided to do was move up to Townsend to be close to On-Site, because I would come up there for peer support.
Yeah.
And to be close to my friends in AA, because my first meeting outside meeting was Fitchburg.
Oh,
And I would drive up here 3 times a week from Boston.
Right.
Just to
Oh,
go
from
to that
Boston,
meeting.
yeah.
Because I know 50 people when I walk in, so I
Right.
was comfortable.
that's a midday?
Yes, noontime. And now, again, fast forwarding, I moved to Townsend. I got a small house, 560 square feet, 3 rooms, 2 acres on a pond. And to me, that is my serenity. I spend a lot of time outside,
Yeah, yeah.
And been sober now 7 years. December 18th, 2011 is my sobriety date. And what works for me now today is 7 to 10 meetings a week. I have a sponsor, I do steps, and I stay in the fellowship like people like you when I see them, and I hang out with sober people
Yeah.
doing
the
sober
bike.
things. I got the motorcycle, do 10,000 miles a year, all with guys sober, up to
yeah.
almost 30 years of sobriety. And that's how my life is content. When I got sober now, my outlook on life is positive. I used to be pessimistic, negative. It's all positive now. I really enjoy being sober.
Were you able to make it so you can still see your daughter?
I had visitation, and every other weekend I would kind of have visitation at my parents' house, so we were able to spend a lot of time together. She was, I think, 13 when I got divorced. She's now 19 in college. Kind of once she started driving, at 17, the visitations kind of stopped, but I still see her. We go to Bruins games, we meet up, we have fun. We traveled, we went to see the Bruins play in Calgary. We drove up to Edmonton.
Nice. Nice.
Things I can do in
Nice.
sobriety.
Nice. Yeah, it's a gift.
It is.
It's a gift. So, 7 years, did you say?
Yes.
7 to 10 meetings a week. I want to go back to the 5 years. You didn't know what we know, that if you pick one back up, and you, as you said, it wasn't that quick. You woke up the next morning and you said, "Wow, I can do this,"
Right.
and then within a short amount of time, you're right back where you were, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're seeing your daughter. There is a woman in your life
Yes.
now, and you're in good shape. You're very active in
Yes.
the program. All the people that come in, in one sense, it's all the same. We went through, they say you get off on what floor you want to. It seems like you kind of got off. You didn't go all the way down the bottom at whatever
Right.
level. So you were very fortunate to do that. But for me, it was the same thing. I didn't know anything about AA, but I ran out of options, burnt everything,
Right.
everything. They were sick of my shit, and my wife was sick of me, and I wasn't good with seeing the kids when I was drinking. I was just lost. I was a mess. I've said it before. I was a waste of air. Now it's going good. So it's going good for you. Your head's in the right place. How has the 7 years been?
It's been great, to back up, when I first got sober, I got treatment for the trauma and addiction. I started.
So there's PTSD involved in it.
Yes.
And I also agree, and I say it to Susan, and she knows. I mean, you guys don't know what's around the corner. It's like being in a war. At any second, and that's on your head, at any second, you're out the door. They were out the door yesterday. somebody got stabbed, you know, and they're there, and they had to wait for the cops, but it's been relatively good for you. PTSD, we're talking
I
about.
got, I did counseling. I did some treatment modalities that, relieve some of that PTSD.
Yeah.
And it progressed, to basically for me in the beginning, it was meetings, therapy, and depression meds. That's
Right.
what worked.
Right.
Now, I still have some depression meds, but if I need help, I'll seek counseling, but it's been very rare. And I guess I forgot to mention when you said being active, I was a greeter at a meeting
Yeah.
for a year. I'm the secretary in Fitchburg.
Oh, I had.
So jobs.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So the jobs keep you committed to the
Right.
group.
And keep you sober.
Yeah, exactly.
With the group. Do you go out on commitments?
I do commitments. I never say no. Someone says, I go to a meeting Wednesday and they say, do you want to go Wednesday night? I never say no.
Really?
I do
Good.
commitments probably at least 3 times a month.
Yeah.
I get asked to go to different detoxes or
Oh,
new meetings in New Hampshire,
Yeah. yeah.
So I kind of do that as well.
Yeah. And you have a sponsor
I do.
and you're tight,
Active with them.
active.
Yeah.
Good, 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 good. You having a good time on the bike? You hang with any of the Leominster guys? Danny and
Yeah. Some
you guys
some
go out
guys,
together.
Leominster, a lot of them are Fitchburg, Worcester area. Yeah.
And as you said, all the people that you hang with on the motorcycle, but beyond that, are sober people.
Right.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Same with me.
Right.
I don't even know. Since Susan retired from the church, I don't even see them. So it's all AA. It's my friend, trusted friends.
Right.
Doing it alone,
Doesn't work.
I don't know how they do it. It does work for some.
Right.
Some can do it. My friend Ethan won't go to AA, and I don't even ask. But he's got a few years
Right.
together. But he doesn't drink. And he's a musician, and
Right.
he will not play at any bar now.
Wow,
He doesn't
that's
want, yeah,
great.
he just
Yeah.
won't. He just won't. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a we program, as it
Yeah.
says in the steps. You give yourself a better chance if you get in the middle and stay active. If you're out on the outsides and you're not interacting and letting people get to know you, then they can't check you and say, haven't seen you at meetings for 2
Right.
weeks, how are you doing?
Right.
When you let people know to get to know you,
Yeah.
it helps.
Yesterday, Brian chaired. I hadn't seen him for a while, and you wonder, and like Kathy and
Right.
you wonder, and that's the great thing about the program. You can't go looking for him, but at least you know.
Right.
At least we're concerned. And he came back yesterday. He's got a year
Right.
put together. I don't
That's
know
great.
where he was. I didn't ask, but
Right.
he's got a year put together, and it's life on life's terms with him.
Exactly.
Certainly now with some medical issues,
Right.
but he's there and he's still sober, and you could tell he felt welcomed back.
Right.
He didn't go out and drink. He's got a year put together, and he felt welcome, and that was a very boisterous meeting yesterday.
Yes.
A lot of laughs. Where can you go? Not at home. Go and laugh like that. From the beginning, you can't get it.
Yeah, you'll hear me and I have friends
yeah,
carrying
yeah,
on,
yeah.
Having fun.
Yeah.
Went to a comedy show last
Oh, did
Saturday
you go?
in Leominster.
All sober.
Yeah, and I didn't get sober to be miserable, so I like
Right.
to have fun. The only other thing I'd like to say is, for me, fortunately, I haven't picked up a drink, but I have tons of friends that relapse chronically, and that's not a
Really?
requirement. They'll go to detoxes, so if you just keep coming, some people come if they're drinking and using, but
Right.
I know in the back they have a desire to stop.
Right, right. That's great. So we're going to wrap this thing up. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. And this is the 47th show, and I go down the beach for a few months, and I'll be doing some stuff down there, some writing, and this has been, you can imagine what this has done for me, because my whole life has come up to where I am now. All that stuff I went through, it's made me what I am now, sitting here talking to you and maybe helping some people, maybe.
Right.
But so that's it. That's a
Great.
wrap.
Thank you.
We're going to a meeting now.